So this is from antiwar.com. Netanyahu plans full Israeli occupation of the Gaza Strip. Israel officials say they have told the IDF chief of staff that if he doesn't like the plan, he can resign. I'd say take the resignation as a blessing to protect yourself in the world when the Nuremberg trials start. Because it's 1945 right now in Israel. Just keep that in mind. And you're not with the allies. Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu is set to order a full Israeli military occupation of the Gaza Strip, according to Israeli media reports on Monday, which means a significant escalation of the genocidal war is likely coming. An escalation.
Jeez.
According to Net, President Trump has given Netanyahu a green light to launch a more aggressive military operation against Hamas in Gaza. A source in Netanyahu's office told the Jerusalem Post that Netanyahu had reached a decision on the full occupation and plans to order military operations in areas where Israel believes its captives are being held by Hamas. Oh, really? The die is cast. We are going for a full occupation of the Gaza Strip, an Israeli official told Niet. The Israeli military has previously pushed back against plans for a full occupation, but Netanyahu's message to the IDF chief of staff, Eyal Zamir, is that if he doesn't like it, he should quit. Wow. I think not only should that guy quit, but he should take his army with him. We need we need a Smedley Butler over there. There will be operations even in areas where hostages are being held. If the IDF chief of staff doesn't agree, he should resign. So what that means is they don't care if they kill the hostages. That's what that means. Netanyahu is set to convene his cabinet. It means Israel doesn't care. Netanyahu is set to convene his cabinet on Tuesday, where he will seek approval for the planned escalation. The Israeli military currently controls about 75% of Gaza, and under the new plan, it will work to capture the remaining territory to bring the entire strip under Israeli control. Israeli reports from last week said that Netanyahu was planning to propose a plan to start annexing territory in Gaza. The Israeli media reports on Monday did not say that what would become of the Palestinian civilians living in the areas currently not occupied by Israel. Israeli officials previously announced a plan to build a concentration camp in a tiny area of southern Gaza with the goal of forcing the entire civilian population into it. We covered that. We told you about this. Wow. So they're planning on building a giant concentration camp to put, 1 million or so people into it. And some people I know are okay with that. The hardest part is to realize that we associate with real monsters. Netanyahu and his government have made clear that their ultimate goal is the removal of the Palestinian population of Gaza, which they now call the Trump Plan. But so far, there's been no indication that any regional countries are willing to take in a sizable amount of Palestinians to facilitate the ethnic cleansing. And that's what this is, ethnic cleansing. The Trump administration has shown no interest in pressuring Israel to end its genocidal war and reach a deal with Hamas, which the U.S. could do by leveraging military aid, like that, snap of a finger. While Israeli officials are now claiming Hamas doesn't want a deal, the group has long said it is willing to release all remaining Israeli captives in exchange for a permanent ceasefire. They've said that before. Guess who keeps turning it down? And if I was a hostage right now, I would be very concerned that actually Israel is going to try and bump me off. So I don't get to talk to the cameras about what's really going on behind the scenes. The last thing they want is all the hostages back, because then there would be no excuse for them to go in and slaughter everybody in Gaza and take it over. That's the last thing they want. While we've done story after story about Jewish newspapers saying that it's Netanyahu that's standing in the way of getting the hostages back, and he's sabotaged every hostage deal, and the people in Israel are upset with Netanyahu over it, because they know that's what he's doing. While Israeli officials are now claiming Hamas doesn't want a deal, the group has long said it's willing to release all the remaining Israeli captives in exchange for permanent ceasefire. So, Smotrich, so this is before, again, I showed you this in another segment. This is before October 7th. Smotrich and Strzok say Israel will have to have no choice but to eventually retake Gaza. They said this they would take over Gaza months before October 7th when Hamas attacked. So they've been saying this this is the Greater Israel Project. So that when they say, "Oh, Hamas, all they have to do is surrender and give up the hostages," nothing's going to stop Israel from the Greater Israel Project. Meaning, no matter what the Hamas does, they're going to do this. They're going to take over the West Bank. They're going to take over Gaza, and they're going to kick all the Palestinians out in what's called ethnic cleansing. So here you are, a Jewish supremacist, liar. Okay. Israel officials have repeatedly said they will not stop until Gaza is fully occupied and cleansed. Hamas has every right to defend their lands against further encroachment by hostile foreign powers. They have a right in international law, UN charter, everything. They have a right to do this. Netanyahu to present Gaza occupation plan. Army chief warns it risks captives. They don't care. Benjamin Netanyahu and those Zionists, they don't care about the hostages. They don't care. Right now, they're starving the hostages because they're starving Gaza. And that's where the hostages are. So the hostages are also being starved. So Israel is starving their own hostages. They don't care about the hostages. They never cared about them. Look up what the Hannibal Directive is. The Hannibal Directive is you kill your own citizens so that they don't become hostages. Dropsite News says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to present a plan to occupy the Gaza Strip to the cabinet on Thursday at 6 p.m., according to Nyet. The proposal comes despite warnings from the Chief of Staff, Eyal Zamir, who cautioned that such a move would harm the captives and exhaust the forces. The IDF reportedly laid out two options, occupation or encirclement. Zamir reiterated that he favors encirclement, but stated he would carry out whatever is ordered by the political echelon. Yunet says Netanyahu believes that occupying the Strip will significantly increase the chance of releasing captives and is determined to go for the occupation. That's all bull. That's not true. He doesn't care what happens to the hostages. They want to take over the Gaza. Yunet says, which is the, I'm going to guess that's the Jewish news outlet, says the plan will be publicly framed as a response to recent videos of Israeli captives Ram Brzezlowski and Evitiar David, with Netanyahu expected to portray the occupation as the only possible way to retrieve the captives, based on the false portrayal that Hamas refuses to make a deal. That is false. Still, the report notes a looming question for Netanyahu. Is this a security decision or a political one? Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Demir and Minister Israel Katz backed the plan, with Katz reportedly saying Hamas has blown up all contacts and that Israel will now act forcefully to once again forcibly displace thousands of Palestinian civilians and then destroy the terrorists' infrastructure. So, breaking, Israel media reports Netanyahu has pulled all stops out to kill any deal for the return of the hostages. So it's obvious they don't want. Here it is. New evidence reveals Netanyahu's relentless efforts to block hostage deal, report shows. I don't need to read this. We all know this. I've showed you. Everybody knows that it's Netanyahu standing in the way of getting the hostages released. Barak Ravid says President Trump discussed with special. This is from August 5th. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff plans for the U.S. to significantly increase its role in providing humanitarian aid to Gaza in a meeting Monday evening at the White House. When asked about a possible Israeli full occupation of the Gaza, Trump said, "I really can't say. It is going to be pretty much up to Israel." And here's what Dave DeCamp says. He goes, "It's going to pretty much be up to Israel" is a good slogan for the Trump administration. Israel has no right to plan Gaza's future. The occupation is illegal. The ICJ ordered Israel to end it, pay reparations. Instead, Israel plans the post-genocide. Unbothered, unchecked, the world is silent. Diplomacy has never felt so insignificant and cruel. So it doesn't matter. They're breaking every international law. They're the terrorists. They're the occupiers. They're the colonizers. They're the genociders. They're the ethnic cleansers. And nobody in the world will do anything. Nobody in the world will do anything. But I will make fun of them in Rutherford, New Jersey, and then in Manhattan at the Village Underground, and then in Canada, in Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. If you are a family member on Medicare or turning 65 soon, you need to listen to this. Medicare enrollment is full of misinformation, and the more confused you are, the easier it is for scammers to steer you into overpriced plans that make them more money while claiming that they're unbiased. Trump's Department of Justice just sued 3 of the biggest brokers in America for allegedly doing exactly that. The victims, Americans like you who deserve better. Well, we've partnered with Chapter because we did our research. Chapter's advisors make Medicare simple and always put you first. They listen carefully, compare every plan, and help you get the most savings. On average, they save people $1,100. These guys won't push you to choose one plan over another, and if you're already on the right plan, they'll tell you that, instead of trying to get you to switch for their financial gain. So choose the right Medicare plan for yourself with trusted guidance from Chapter. Give them a call today to the number on the screen and make sure your Medicare plan works for you. Most people wish they'd called them sooner. Come see us on tour in Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Appleton, Wisconsin, Rosemont, Chicago, Louisville, Kentucky, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.